Welcome to Tech Talk, y'all.
Hello, and welcome to Tech Talk, y'all, episode 358. I'm Sanjay Parekh.
And I'm Adam Walker, and we have a pretty interesting episode. There's some really interesting, weird, and wacky ones, including AI robot abductions, robots abducting robots.
Crazy.
And like human washing machines. So anyway, just stay tuned for weird and wacky. And tech breaks at the end. I've got a really good tech break this week. So You want to stay around to the end to get my tech break for this week. It's revolutionizing my desktop organization setup, which is just amazing. So, but we got that. But let's get started. What do we got first, Sanjay?
Yeah, first up, Niantic announces, and we'll tell you who Niantic is in a minute if you don't know who they are, announces a large geospatial model trained on Pokemon Go player data. So yeah, that pretty much explains it right there. Niantic is the company that makes Pokemon Go.
Okay.
And this goes back to our whole saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Yeah.
And that includes games. Yeah. So there you have it.
So they took all that data from all those people going everywhere in the world, and they're basically making it into what, a giant worldwide AI model sort of thing?
Basically, yeah. So spatial intelligence for the robot overlords, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, how they're creating armies of AI robots to do things.
Yeah.
But so it's super interesting, but like everything, you always have to realize if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. You're doing something that is creating value for the company that they are going to exploit at some point and for some reason.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the product and just like a glimpse into the sci-fi future that awaits us all, Microsoft Teams AI language interpreter will mimic your voice. And so essentially, the way I understand it is that like I can be on the other end of a Teams call and I can select my preferred language. And you could be on your end of the call speaking a different language, but it will mimic your voice with you speaking in my language. Like it'll interpret it real time for me. Don't like this at all. This seems like a recipe for a lot of problems, unless people really understand that translations are rudimentary.
Don't like this. I have enough conversations in my own head with my own voice. I don't need to be talking to other people sounding like me. That's no.
Well, I'll tell you too. The problem is like just in English to English communication, it's hard enough to communicate with humans in the same language. But like when you add a computer intermediary translating in between, like just imagine the miscommunications that can happen. It'll be epic. So I do think this is really cool. Like this is a very like sci-fi world thing coming together.
Who really thought, let's spend time to make this sound like you, right? Like,
that's true.
Need it to sound like me. Yeah. Like it's weird.
But think about it. But imagine you could be like a badly dubbed movie in real time. Like that's kind of amazing, right? Like I kind of love that. So, I mean, that aspect of it's at least fun. So,
don't like that, and probably don't like the next one either. ChatGPT is a poet. A new study shows people prefer its verses because people don't appreciate poetry, basically, is the subtext.
Well, I think the study was that like they compared it. They couldn't differentiate it from Shakespeare. But they preferred it over Shakespeare. I believe that was but then again, like you got to realize like it's going to write poetry in more modern terms.
Right.
So obviously people are going to like it more than Shakespeare. Right. Like that's an obvious thing. So
like how many people do you know that are just, you know what? I need to pick up a Shakespeare book, a novel and read it. Like
I'm not friends with those people. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like I don't know those people. I think they exist.
I think that that diagram, that Venn diagram is probably, it's all like English teachers. Those are the ones that do that. Yeah. And all the rest of us that have read Shakespeare, it's because we've been assigned that for class.
Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you a story about English teachers just for your own. So when I was in high school about the same time that they re-released the original Star Wars movies in the theater before the next set of Star Wars movies started to come out, like to build up the hype, right? So I was in British literature at the time, and Star Wars has a ton of themes around British literature, like the Dark Knight is, Darth Vader. And so I got extra credit for my class for going to the theater to watch the original Star Wars movies. It was amazing.
You had a good English teacher.
His name was Mr. Bishop, and he was fantastic. So Mr. Bishop, if you're still out there, you are amazing. Thank you for that. So
there you go. Yeah.
All right. Next up, Elon Musk said what a lot of CEOs think. Return to work mandates are really meant to make you quit. So I like this phrase that's been going around the internet lately, which is Elon said the quiet part out loud, and the quiet part is like, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get people to quit. So apparently one of the things that they're going to do at the Department of Government Efficiency is they're going to return to work or return to office mandates to get people to quit and reduce the workforce that way and get them to
of the federal government. Yeah.
Of the federal government. Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess if you want to reduce the workforce, like that's a good way to do it, I guess. But the problem to me is,
well, it's a good way if you're the government, because then you don't have to pay severance or anything else like that. Right.
But I feel like it's
really
going to be
a good way.
No, but I feel like it's going to reduce the workforce. It's going to call the wrong people. I think the best people with the most options are the ones that are going to be like, I can do better somewhere else. I'm out of here. And the people that are the lower level, that are the worst options, are the ones that don't have other options.
Yep.
And they're going to stay. So
we've talked about studies before on that, where doing these requirements does take away your people that are the most productive, the most beneficial to your organization.
Yep.
So.
Right. Yep.
Look, I understand how you don't like having people to have this perk, but as somebody who works with other people now too, like I don't like driving and sitting in traffic. It's actually, if you view it in that perspective, like you're making me waste 1 to 2 hours a day. 5 days a week by coming into the office. So that 10 hours of productivity time that is lost, not just to you, but to society in general. Because, maybe I wouldn't have given those 10 hours to you, but I could have done something else productive. And so I think societally, like it's a bad gig. Like, I get the whole thing of like, look, the serendipity of being in the office. Yeah, that's great. Like do it a couple of times a week, but don't require everybody to be in every single day, because
that's right.
Some days you just don't have meetings with anybody else. There's no reason to go in. So why would you
just
go in?
On a computer? Yeah, that's right.
Like I can do that anywhere. Yeah. That's what coffee shops are for.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something else that's getting broken up potentially. Ooh. This is a rough one potentially. DOJ says Google must sell Chrome to crack open its search monopoly. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one too. Google's Chrome worth up to $20 billion if judge orders sale.
Dude,
looking mighty good to be on Firefox nowadays, isn't it?
Well, but did you see the rest of the article where it said they're also probably going to order Google to no longer pay other companies to make Google the default search engine, which, I mean, a huge amount of funds are going into Firefox for that. A huge amount of funds are going into Apple for that. So like that's going to dramatically affect the cash flows of those companies. And then, I mean, and to what end, right? Like, I mean, here's the thing, right? I feel like this is too little, too late. We're at this interesting inflection point in search where it's already being massively disrupted by AI. And I think like, and I'm seeing this even in my clients, like I'm seeing a ton more searches coming from places other than Google. I mean, rather than where they were, a year ago. And so they're already being massively disrupted, and now they're going to have to divest this stuff, and they're having them divest in a way that I'm not really sure is even going to be genuinely effective. Like I don't even know that them getting rid of Chrome makes any difference whatsoever. So it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I agree completely with that, because I think their access of Chrome gets them a lot of data that creates a huge moat that is very difficult to compete with. Now, that said, in one of these articles, I think they did talk about how their dominance in search is now being challenged because of the rise of AI. Yeah. And I do think that is true. I think they are in a rough kind of era for themselves in terms of search and their dominance in search. Yeah. But then again, that's part of the reason why they've diversified into so many other industries. The other part that's interesting to me in this is the potential that they might have to divest of Android and spin that out as
something for that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting case, because I think it could make it even more competitive as a landscape in terms of Apple as well. But then like, what do you do with Apple? Do you make them divest of iOS? And
I mean,
that's weird.
It's a slippery slope at that point, right? And
like, what does Apple become then if you're going to take that away from them?
There were other weird things in the article too, where it was like, and Google can't set Google search as its default search inside of its own properties, like Gmail. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, how would that even? That's crazy too. So, I mean, I don't know. Just several things here in that article struck me as very strange and not particularly helpful. So, I mean, time will tell. They're going to fight it.
I get the not paying other people to be the exclusive search provider. I think you're right that could cause problems for folks like Firefox, but there's, probably through this, they'll figure out some other revenue path for themselves as well.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. All right. Epic allows Internet Archive to distribute for free Unreal and Unreal Tournament forever. So these are older games that they are allowing to be kind of held on the Internet Archive for free so that they don't die off. We've talked about old games dying off before on this show and that being sort of a problem for like diehard users. I think this is a cool move by Epic.
I think this is a great move. And I hope this is something that gets followed by other game providers as well. I'll tell a quick story. I just recently in this last week, I went my first time trip ever to the Computer Museum of America.
That sounds awful. That just sounds terrible right there. So
it was incredible.
I think it was for you. For sure. Yeah. I think it was great for you.
You would have been impressed by this place. So this place is here in Metro Atlanta. It was my first time ever being there. They have a working Enigma machine, which is the machine that was used by the Germans for encryption. They have all kinds of, they have an Apple One there. I've actually posted some pictures of this on Blue Sky, by the way. So you can go follow me there if you want to see some of those pictures. But, they also had old arcade machines, as well as my first computer, the TI 99-4A. They had it functioning, and the cartridge for Hunt the Wumpus was in there. So you could just sit down and play Hunt the Wumpus on that. And they had some other games. They had Donkey Kong running. They had some old games on some old systems there. It was really, really cool. And I think what's important here is that for kids to really understand the progress of technology over time and to be able to actually experience some of these systems that you only otherwise would read about, I think is really important for them to understand the evolution of some of these things and hopefully help kind of spark that creativity and that idea of like, oh, we can use some of these ideas that existed before to create even better new things in the future. Right.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
I think it's super cool. Props to Epic for allowing that and for partnering with Internet Archive to allow this because old games, I think, are just as important as new games.
Yeah. And before you move to the next article, what was that game you could play again?
Hunt the Wumpus. Hunt the Wumpus. Yeah.
That name is killing me, man. Do
you not remember Hunt the Wumpus?
No, I've never heard of that game, man.
What? That is a well-known game from
I believe
the 80s.
You, but it feels wildly inappropriate for some reason. Something about that name just feels like
it's a good game. Listeners, if you've ever played Hunt the Wumpus, send us a note and let us know and prove Adam wrong because he doesn't know classic 80s games.
All right.
But hopefully while you're doing that, you're not doing it on an Apple computer that is going to be compromised because Apple confirms a 0-day attack hitting Mac OS systems. There is a update for your devices. Make sure you go apply those. But what I find fascinating about this is for so long, people that had Macs were so high and mighty, like, well, we don't need antivirus because there are no viruses for Mac. Yes, there are. You just weren't a big enough attack surface for people to focus on it. And now you are. And now the attacks are coming. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Yes, smug Mac OS people.
Be aware. All right. Some good news. Well, maybe good news. Instagram will let users reset the recommendation system that powers their feeds. I tagged this for one specific purpose, Sanjay. So
I love this.
Every night, my son, who's 8, one of my sons who's 8, loves to watch what we call quote unquote crazy videos, which are reels. And because the only time I watch reels is with him, it's basically all Minecraft videos in like silly, stupid races on treadmills with like where they put like cars and rolls of duct tape on a treadmill and see which one falls off first. That's the whole feed. Like literally, I can scroll 10 videos in a row and it's nothing but Minecraft. I don't play Minecraft, so there will come a day where he no longer wants to watch crazy videos, and that will be a sad day. But on that day, I will be able to reset my recommendation system and I will get videos that I actually enjoy versus ones that he enjoys.
Yeah.
So this is great news.
I actually need this functionality in other things too. So like my Spotify has been accidentally on occasion usurped by other family members because it's logged in the car. Yeah. And then they start listening to podcasts that I don't listen to. And now that's permanently recommended. And I have no way of getting rid of it. And it annoys me to no end.
Like the worst. Yeah.
Okay. If any of our listeners, if you are involved in a company that has a recommendation engine, for the love of all that is holy, please put in some way to reset that thing through the account, just so you can start fresh. So you don't have to quit your account, delete it, and then create a new account all over again, right? Like that's the part that annoys me about Spotify, because like my only out right now would be to restart, and then all my likes and everything are going to be gone, which is annoying to me. So
I get some kids songs every now and again in the mix on Spotify. And I'm like, stop it. Stop doing that. That's from years ago when the kids were playing random stuff on Alexa. Stop that. So, there
should be an age out thing of recommendation. If you don't listen to something for, a year or 2 years or something, like there's a reason. Stop.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Next up, also talking about social media, 1 in 5 U.S. adults gets their news from social media. Social media influencers, sorry. According to Pew report. This is awful scary, but then it made me think. So
yes and no.
They talk about news influencers. Like, what the heck even is that? But then I
follow several. I follow several of them. Yeah.
So I don't follow anything, I don't think, but is The Daily Show and Last Week Tonight by John Oliver? Is that a news influencer?
No, that's actual real media. That's entertainment media. It's good, but it's entertainment media. No, like for example, I follow a news influencer, and he actually has a wall, but very similar to my wall behind me. And he just gets on there and records like what's going on in the news, like several times a day. And he's actually influential enough to have I think he interviewed Biden at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And so like, he's like I followed 2 influencers actually that were high enough level to interview the president. And they're both like very, very liberal Democrats. So it's obviously very slanted news. And I know that going into it, right? Like I'm fine with that, because I know going into it, I'm not getting a neutral perspective. Right. So I listened to a podcast Start Here to get a somewhat neutral perspective. It's ABC, and I know some people would say ABC leans left, and that's fine. Everything leans left or right to some degree, so you got to kind of pick your poison. But it is interesting, and I do follow several, and it's a fascinating perspective. So, I mean, it's literally like they get up on a mic just like me, and they're like, today, this happened. Blah, blah, blah. Can you believe this? I mean, they're like, it's fascinating. So I'll send you one next time I come across it. So,
there's so many new, like, quote unquote jobs that are just like, I can't even believe these are jobs. But
I mean, people are doing well at it. Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody who might be having less jobs, Intuit H&R Block shares fall after report that Trump government efficiency team is considering tax filing app. Listen, I'm going to just say this, and I'm terrified that I'm about to say this. This is a good idea. We need a government run tax file. Like, we need to make this easier. Like, this is dumb. It's dumb how hard it is.
The IRS has been talking about this and has rolled out some things around this. So I was a little perplexed by this.
Okay.
Like, the IRS, and we've talked about these stories where they've done free filings and a bunch of things. And for certain people of a certain, and like, hey, great, if you're going to expand this to everybody, that'd be a fantastic thing. But this doesn't feel like it's new. Like, they're already working on
It's probably not. Yeah. That's
okay,
true.
Great.
Hey, we didn't tag an article about it, but I got to ask. I noticed yesterday, Bitcoin all-time high.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Like, I'm holding on. Like, okay, because I've told you this. I think I've said this publicly on the show before, so I'll say it again. I put like $500 into Bitcoin, like 8 years ago. Like, so which not a ton of money, but it's grown 10x so far. So I'm like, should I dump it now? Like, I don't know. That's a tough call, right? What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm often of the opinion, like, if you don't actually need the money, then just let it ride. Because if you sell it, you're going to have to pay taxes. On the increase.
But if it goes cuts in half again after the hype wears off, I'd be better off. I don't know. It's a tough call.
I mean, it would have to be down 90% at this point. Then
that's true. Yeah. I mean, I'll get my original investment out. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's, believed, I think yesterday it intraday hit 99,000
or so
dollars. The belief is it's going to break 100,000. I don't really know. There's some calls. I was listening to another podcast, and there was some kind of, apparently there's people that believe that there should be a strategic reserve of crypto and the US government should go in and buy, and like how we have a reserve of oil and we have a reserve of helium and we have a reserve of like certain commodities and things like, and gold, obviously with Fort Knox. That we should, and I'm like, I don't know that makes sense.
That seems like a lot. Like a reserve of which crypto? Like there's so many options.
Yes.
I
don't know.
Yeah. It seems like a terrible idea.
Like everybody's got a crypto. Oh yeah.
I haven't heard anything about Litecoin lately. Let's go buy a bunch of Litecoin. That sounds like
Ethereum and then Bitcoin and then this. Yeah. I mean, and legitimately the US government does stockpile currency from other countries as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So we do that, but I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like a terrible idea.
I feel like it's a little bit too early to be like, yeah, this is the way. So
yeah, fair enough.
Time for the Weird and Wacky segment.
Abominable Snowman.
He's not an axe murderer.
One of the TAs turned out to be a bot.
First up on Weird and Wacky, watch a tiny robot kidnaps, quote unquote, 12 big Chinese bots from a Shanghai showroom and shocks the world. So this was obviously a stage thing, but the programmers kind of told this little robot to shout at the other robots to go home, and then they ended up having a conversation, and it convinced a bunch of robots to follow it home and go home with it.
Right.
To me, this looks like this little robot was developing an army. It was like a cult leader or something, and with a little bit more intelligence, we're hosed.
Yeah. I mean, it was obviously a very persuasive little robot. So I mean, it was entertaining to watch. I think
it's like the Chihuahua robots, right? Like,
yeah.
It's really
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a fifth the size of all the rest of them. It was crazy. So
yeah.
All right. Next up, a company is now developing human washing machines. My commentary, in case you need something else to waste your money on aside from a Cybertruck. So, yeah, I mean, like it's like this pod-like machine that apparently you get in and it measures your heart rate and your body temperature, skin temperature, and like all this stuff to get the perfect temperature water for you, and then it like washes you somehow. This seems like a just colossal waste of innovation, but whatever. I mean, hey,
so you know what this is to me? The minute I saw this after you tagged it, this reminded me of the opening sequence of the TV show The Jetsons. Where right?
Yes.
He goes through the thing, and then it just washes him, and then puts on his clothes, and then gives him the briefcase, and he goes in
like stretches him out, and he goes to the shower, and that's. I've not thought of that in so long. You're totally right. That's exactly what this is.
And I think the other part of this is that there is an opportunity here to actually be good for the environment, because look, I will admit I take long showers, and, something like this would basically, kind of compress and limit the amount of time that you're there and the amount of water that's used. And then maybe even have the opportunity to recycle that water and reuse it so that, you're not using up more resources. So there might be some upside to this, but, it's going to be hard for me to give up my nice hot shower to get my
I'm not, for me, it's the cash. There's no way I'm going to spend money on that thing. And there's no way I'm going to carve out space in my home for the size of that machine. It's just never going to happen. So
what if the thing pays itself back in 6 months because of the amount of money you save on water and hot water?
I would do that in 100%. Yeah, if that's a real thing. Yeah, I mean, if I had to save the money back in 6 months, I'd be a fool not to do it. I don't care. If I'm clean and it doesn't cost me money, yeah, for sure. But that seems very unrealistic and unlikely to me. So
yeah, I mean, I was trying to go to the. It's probably like, if they can do all the things, then it's probably like, I don't know, 5 years and you pay itself back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which still might be worth it. Maybe it's worth it in like new homes or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah. Something else that's actually not a new home and is not going to have that, but it's going to need it because people might be bloodied. Airbnb's idea to hold gladiator battles in Rome's Colosseum isn't going down well with some lawmakers. So I got to say, like this last summer, I actually visited Italy for the first time ever, and we went to Rome and we visited the Colosseum. And this seems like a terrible idea to me too.
Yeah. I mean, there were several quotes from local officials, and they basically were like, "Look, this is Rome, not Disneyland." Like, there's like they literally like several of them referenced Disneyland. It was like, and basically they're just trying to say like they're like almost to the extent like this is almost like they didn't say it, but like almost like holy ground. Like this is meaningful space, and it shouldn't be cheapened by a stunt like this. Was kind of the concept. Because at first, I saw the article and I'm reading, I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool and really neat and really interesting and innovative. But then reading the articles, their comments, I'm like, yeah, it does kind of cheapen the space a bit. And I think cheapens the history a little bit to me. So
and you know what's going to end up happening? There's going to be some Yahoo that takes it a little bit too seriously, and somebody's going to get hurt.
There is that. Well, and it's a thing for the rich too. That's the thing. They're like, look, we don't want to be a city where the rich come and can do all these sort of things that cheapen our stuff. You know, like that's not what we want to be known for. That's a great point. So I think it's valid. All right, let's see. Last up in Weird and Wacky, Maurizio Catalans, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry, Maurizio. Viral banana artwork could fetch 1.5 million at auction. Okay, so we've already covered the banana duct tape to the wall. It's already sold at auction for a stupid amount of money.
So it actually sold for $5.2 million is what it sold for.
I mean,
and here's the thing. So this just keeps going, right? We talked about this originally years ago when this originally happened. That's why I tagged this article, because it's like, this is like the John Deere tractor thing. Like, this is a story that never goes away.
It's for real.
So the banana is a real banana, so it's going to go bad. But what this really gets the owner is a certificate that says that any banana that you duct tape to the wall at the exact right angle is this banana, is this piece of artwork. This is the certificate of authenticity that allows you to duct tape a banana to the wall and say that it is this artwork. It's weird. And again, talking about the Gladiator thing and rich people will have money to waste on stuff. This sounds like a thing that rich people have wasted money on.
Okay. I have a piece of art that I'm just going to name it right here. Okay. Here's the art. You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to duct tape a lamp to the wall, and the title of the art piece is going to be called Capturing Light. That's the art piece.
Oh, I love that.
It could be, I mean, light, that's brilliant, right? Like, I'm copywriting it right here. You heard it here, folks. It's worth millions.
Let's start the auction right now.
Duct taping a lamp to the wall. I'm ready. I got it. I'm in.
But there's a specific angle that it has to be and a specific type of lamp that it has to be.
Yes, of course.
For it to be the actual authentic artwork.
Capturing light. Yeah.
So listeners, if you want to go ahead and send in your bids for capturing light, then just go ahead and email us, and we will all entertain all offers. We will also entertain interesting barters as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take a house for it. I'd take a Porsche for it.
You don't know what that's a reference to, but that's Kramer from Seinfeld. That's how you get the interesting offers.
I caught a glimpse of an episode yesterday where Kramer had hired an intern to help him be more Kramer, and he's like showing him around Jerry's apartment when Jerry's not even home, and Jerry's like, "What? Who's this guy?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Kramer for Kramerica International and
Kramerica Enterprises."
So, oh my gosh, so good.
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
Tech wreck, chicky.
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
All right, Sanjay, it's tech wreck time. What do you have for us this week?
So I've got a little open source tool that runs on, I believe it's Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So I had this little problem with a hard drive of mine that was failing, and I was trying to figure out what was going on with it. Fortunately, it was still under warranty, so I was able to send it back to Seagate. And then they sent me a new one. But I found this application, G Smart Control, which lets you go in and understand what is happening with your hard drives. Because look, a lot of us have solid state drives. They last a long time, but they also will fail at some point. Yeah. So this little application lets you go in and test drives and then actually see how they're performing and see if they're starting to get bad sectors and things like that. That's what I was having with my hard drive. There's more and more bad sectors. So the application was warning that it was an imminent failure, which is not a thing you want to have happen. So I switched it out. So G Smart Control, check it out. Links are in the show notes. If you need to understand where your hard drives are at, how much lifetime they might still have before you need to go get a new one. Make sure you do backups, by the way. We've recommended backup solutions in the past year, because your hard drive is going to fail at some point and you don't want to lose all your data. I will freely admit, when I was younger, I was not a big fan of backing up, and I lost all my data a number of times over the years until I finally got wise and started backing stuff up. So anyways, that's it for me. What about you, Adam? What do you got for us this week?
I'm going to recommend the CalDigit TS3 Plus Thunderbolt 3 dock. So shout out to my friend Joe Casabona. So this happened because I saw my friend Joe. He posted a picture of his desktop. It was so clean and just kind of pristine, well organized. And I was like, I need that in my life. My desktop is horrible. And I got on a call with him. I showed him my setup, and he was like, okay, your first problem is you're using a bunch of dongles and they don't really work that well. They're not powered. They're not powering your devices accurate, get a good dock that has a ton of ports in it, and that's going to help a ton. And then we'll talk about the rest of it. So this is my solution to that. There is a TS4 dock that's upgraded from this, a little bit better. It's got like 2 audio output ports instead of just one, but it was also like $150 more. And I was like, nope, I'm going to be cheap and go with the TS3. So I did that. It's fantastic. I've got a couple other tech wrecks coming over the next couple of weeks that are related to sort of getting my desk much, much, much more organized. And, but yeah, this has been a great device. I mean, it's got a ton of ports in it. It's got audio out, audio in, SD card, tons of USB A's or whatever's, and then a couple of USB C's, and it's fantastic. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of having a dock. It definitely makes things just so much easier. And
so much easier.
It's just so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, Sanjay, how can our listeners find and connect with you?
They can find me at sanjaypark.com. They can also find me on Blue Sky as sanjaypark.com. I don't have those things linked up yet, but I will at some point.
Okay.
What about you, Adam?
You can find me on my website at adamjwalker.com. I've not set up Blue Sky yet. I still need to take time to do that. But when I do, it will also be adamjwalker.com. And it's got links to all my stuff. Go find them.
Dun, dun, dun.